Hey everyone, Noah from Rarity7 here. Owen and I are back. We have an amazing release of coins. We have 85 new coins. We're not going to do them all in this one video. We're actually going to split this up into 4 videos. So you are watching part 1, and we're going to go through an amazing new group of coins. Check out in the description links to parts 2, 3, and 4. The idea here is we're happy to share some knowledge, show you some really cool coins, and talk about them. And hope everyone learns a little bit. Okay, so the first coin we have tonight is a 1793 half cent, first year of issue half cent in fine 12. I bought this coin, Owen, from a collector who had this in his set. He traded it in along with a couple other coins that we had for one of our big coins recently. I fell in love with this coin when we bought it. Owen, tell me what you see with this guy and why this coin is awesome.
This one stood out to me for 2 primary reasons. The surfaces are great. It has this nice, like, even chocolate brown, which is what you want to see on all types of early copper, and it's particularly rare on these 1793 half cents. This is a very low mintage type, a little bit over 35,000. So there wasn't many to begin with, and a lot were lost to history and commerce. And a lot of the survivors are environmentally damaged. They have some kind of a pitting or corrosion or kind of green growth on the surfaces. And this one shows really none of that. So I love that. And it's also very well detailed for a 12. I think if you compared this one to a lot of 15s, it'd be on par or perhaps even favorable. So great services and great detail for the grade on this one.
Yeah, we thought about trying this for a 15, but we said, you know what, this coin is great as a 12. We'd always rather give you a little bit of room upward, you know, and say, look, we're going to give you a really nice 12 that completely maxed out 15. So superb first year of issue, more approachable than, you know, a chain cent, for example. A chain cent in 12 is going to cost a lot more than this coin. You know, neither are inexpensive, but if you're going for 1793 copper, this is a really, really awesome addition. So we're very excited about that. Second coin on the batch tonight is one of your favorites, Owen, a 1809/6, which is actually the 9 over inverted 9 classic head half cent in XF40 with a CAC sticker. Man, this coin is great. You know, I found this coin on an estate sale, actually, and it was one of those great sales where the collector clearly had really good taste, and I love spotting these, and I managed to snag this. There was actually a whole bunch of coins. This was not a very secret sale, but there was a whole bunch of coins that got away, but I was happy to grab this one. Owen, what do you think of this guy?
Yeah, I've mentioned before in this channel that I really like this type. I think it's kind of slept on relative to other early copper types. The CAC population for this coin is very low. I'm looking at it here. It's just 5 in XF40. So really, really tough to find in mid-grade circulated grades like XF, let alone CAC approved. A nice bold overdate there. I really like this one.
Yeah, this is just like these early copper. It's so easy to find so much crappy early copper out there, and to be able to get it when it's just nice and smooth and no corrosion. And CAC is tough on this stuff. You know, they're not just giving away stickers on old copper because there's so many things that can go wrong. Here is a slightly later, in 1835, same design, classic head half cent. Very, very pleasing early issue. I think, Owen, you found this coin for us from a dealer. You know, you were hunting through some of the inventory, and this was one of the ones that you found, and I really like it. What did you like about this?
Yeah, this is just a really solid example of an early half cent. You know, it's not going to set any registry records, but it's priced accordingly. It's got excellent color, great detail. There's nothing not to like about this coin.
These coins are tough in both of those grades, and XF obviously is going to be a lot less expensive and a lot more approachable. So a really nice example of some early copper. We have 2 Fugios coming up, and I'm going to show you both of them. The first one is a beautiful XF45 Newman 9P, which is a more common example. And I'm patting myself on the back because there was an auction recently. Stax had a whole bunch of Fugios, a whole horde of them. And I think there were probably 40 or 50 of them in the auction from a really, really prominent collection. I think it was actually the Richard August collection. And I bought 2, exactly 2. I sent them both to CAC recently, and they both stickered. So I'm very proud of myself on this one. Here's the second Fugio I bought. I was really proud of this one. Here's another common date OGH And I saw this and I said, man, this coin the eye appeal is outstanding. And I just had a gut that this one would sticker. So I paid a little much on this one. This one isn't going to be inexpensive. Sorry, everyone. But the eye appeal was just outstanding. And it was in an OGH. And then it got a sticker, and I got to give kudos to the folks at CAC because they have a very delicate game of figuring out exactly where to put that sticker, and they nailed it on this one. They got it so that you can still see the word Fugio, you can see the 8, which differentiates. They hid the word stars, but all the essential information is there. So it's a delicate real estate game, and they got it exactly right. So I'm going to show you these two. I went 2 for 2 on my CAC stickers with these two Fugios. Owen, how did I do? What do you think of these guys?
I think you knocked it out of the park on this pair, Noah. This is everything you want to see on colonials. So we've been mentioning the surface quality you want to look for in early copper. And that's minimal pitting and no greens or reds. Well, as you move into colonial coins, the earlier you go, planchet quality becomes more important. And for the viewers unfamiliar with that very fancy word, that's just a way to say the blank. That's the final product that a blank coin becomes a planchet, and then those are struck into coins. And that's very important on these colonials because they were often plagued with contaminants in the planches, which can cause like very ugly, visually distracting defects in the coin. So you can have a coin that in theory is right off the presses, MS68, and it might have some big gnarly planchet issue. So on top of environmental issues, you also want to make sure you have like a nice, properly formed planchet free of any nasty flaws. And perhaps we could either throw some up on screen or just go ahead and go online and research planchet flaws. They can be pretty ugly. So this pair stands out not only because of the surface quality, but these coins were really handsome to begin with. No planchet issues to speak of, which plague this type. So I have no bad words to say about these.
Awesome. Well, thank you, and I appreciate it. I was pretty excited with the pair, so it's fun. We'll move into the sort of pre-federal stuff, and now from the pre-federal stuff, and we'll move into the early federal issue. Here is a 1795 flowing hair large cent plain edge in good 4. And I bought this from a wholesale dealer at the Rosemont show who I do a lot of business with. I bought this one because the level of detail on the obverse just stood out. What do you think about this one, Owen?
This is an interesting example where, normally you can average out a coin's grade pretty well by using the obverse and the reverse are usually about going to be the same grade. This is an example where that is definitely not the case. The obverse of this coin is like easily VG. If you call the obverse a fine, that wouldn't bother me. And then you have this like distinctly O2 or O3 reverse. So I think the obverse of this coin is 10 points above the reverse. And PCGS averages out to a 4. That makes sense to me. I could even see a 6 if you want to keep pushing it. But I think with that much reverse rim blending, 04 makes sense. I like this coin both as a buyer and a seller of it because I think it offers a lot of detail and it faces up extremely well for the price.
Okay, next we're going to move on to an Indian head cent in the 1870s. Here is a MS64 brown. This is a fully mint state Indian head cent, both CAC and Eagle Eye being the service by Rick Snow, who's a sort of expert, actually not sort of, who is an expert on Flying Eagle and Indian head cents. The die varieties on Flying Eagles are like, you may see S3, S4, those stand for Snow. That is Rick Snow, and he is the sort of expert on this, and he has his own little company called Eagle Eye Photo Seal. This means this is a Eagle Eye approved coin. I loved it, and I bought it, sent it to CAC recently, and got a sticker on it. I mean, the color is magnificent on this. There's no arguing that this is a brown coin in terms of the, red, brown spectrum. But I mean, look at this. It's got these hints of blue and magenta and, rose colored in there. It's just got, and on the reverse, you've got some blues and you've got purples. And the fact that it's both CAC and Eagle Eye approved means that this coin is one that, the color they both believe is original, is toned, directly and originally in an album. Lots of luster, some great color, and a really, really fun. And, the 70s are not, are a little tougher. If this were a 1906 Indian head cent, this would be a much different variety than the early 70s. So very, very happy with this coin. We'll move on to the next Indian head cent. Here's a 1902 in 66 red brown. Oh, and you bought this coin at a local show. I remember you called me about it and you said, I got a old NGC holder and a blasty red, slightly brown. So tell me what attracted you about this coin when you saw it?
Yeah, this one stood out to me because it's totally free of any like environmental spots, right? So on Unk Indian head cents, you want to be really careful that they don't have those black. The industry kind of calls them carbon spots. They're like little rough kernels that appear on these, and they're very distracting and can punish the grade a lot. This one's completely free of that. It has great luster. It's mostly red. It's well struck, certified gem. So kind of all the bells and whistles on this one.
And if you're a collector of old holders, you'll note that this is a fully intact hologram on an old NGC holder. These get really messed up. These holders are actually little stickers, and most dealers put their labels on the back, and then you peel the label and the hologram comes off. It doesn't change the value of this, but it's just a little notable thing that means this coin was stored properly and hasn't had the hologram ripped off on the coin. So a nice one. Well, we'll move to a later. Here is a 09 Indian in gem MS65. This is not red brown. This is a full red. It is a full gem. It's got the OGH. This is a coin you found for us, Owen, in an auction, I believe. And it's got all the bells and whistles. And I like it. I understand why you picked it. What attracted you when you saw this one?
I like buying red copper in OGH holders that is still red. Copper is prone to turning, meaning that its redness can dull even after it's been certified. A coin like this, in my head, it's kind of like if it hasn't begun to turn by now, it's probably not going to turn for a really long time, maybe hundreds of years. And this one, was certified sometime in the 1990s, and it's still, this coin's blazing red. I mean, it's 100% red, and there's no distracting abrasions or anything. It's very clean, a beautiful gem type coin, last year of issue. There's nothing not to like about this one.
I completely understand. It's a really good point. I mean, it's been 30 some odd years that this coin has been in the holder. So chances are it's got a pretty good seal and it's not changing color anytime soon. So a nice investment and really good thinking. All right, well, we'll move into another final year Indian. This is a different variety. This is the 09S, one of two S-Mint Indians, the 08S and the 09S. I think the 09S is a tougher one. It's not quite as key as the 1877. I found this coin I think I found this in an old estate sale. I hunt, we hunt all over the place. We do estate sales, we do online auctions, we buy from collectors directly. It's kind of half the fun of this business is like the hunt and looking for really cool stuff. And I found this coin, got it, got a CAC sticker on it. What do you think about this one?
For 1909 cents, the 09S VDB kind of gets all the love. That's the Lincoln cent counterpart of the series. The mintage of that is 484,000 pieces. But a lot of people don't know that the Indian head cent is lower, much lower, at just 309,000 pieces. So it's not nearly as popular, but it's much more rare and still even cheaper than the 09S VDB.
I did not know that. That's really cool.
Yeah, so definitely kind of a bit of a slept-on date. And this is a really great example of a mid-grade circulated one, CAC approval, perfect color, everything you want to see.
And speaking of which, let's move on. Speaking of supply and demand, look what we have as the next coin. A VF20 09S VDB, which is going to be significantly more expensive, I believe, than the 09S. And it's just, it's supply and demand, a less rare coin, but everyone who wants those Lincoln cents and you're building your set, that this is the one. This is the one we all dream about. The 09S VDB, the full key date, and, in a VF20 with the CAC approval. And I don't really think there's a lot that needs to be said. This is a pretty straightforward key date Lincoln cent. You all need it for your set. And I love stocking these. This is the only one that we have in stock at the moment because all the other ones sell because I like to buy nice SVDBs. And it's very satisfying for me personally placing an SVDB with someone because it's usually a collector who is finishing their set. Or they've been dreaming about owning an SVDB for many years. So I love looking for nice ones in all price points, the VFs, the fines, and then the mint state ones. It's really great. So, and moving on to the next one, speaking of, here is a semi-key date in the Lincoln Cent series. Here's a 14D, also VF30 in the VF level with CAC approval. Again, not a deeply rare coin, one of the semi-keys in the Lincoln series. I love stocking these. It's in the hundreds of dollars, not the thousands of dollars. And, I just love nice, clean, good, solid key dates that everyone can, it's just, I don't know. It's just, I love placing coins like this in collections. It makes me very happy. I get personal satisfaction out of it. So here's another lovely semi-key date Lincoln cent that you can add to your collection. All right, well, we'll move on to a slightly underlooked series. Here is a 82 3-cent nickel in proof 64 in an OGH. By the way, the OGH has started to turn blue. Little side note about these. The paper that PCGS used in their OGHs had different chemical compositions. And you know, we talk about copper changing color. Well, you will see varieties of OGH paper in every color from yellow to blue over the last 30 years. So this one is sort of the slightly bluish green. Owen, why are 3-cent nickels not so popular? These are, I mean, this is a fairly low mintage proof. It's a very pleasing looking coin, and yet it's not a deeply expensive coin. Do you have a sense of why these are just not so popular?
I'm not certain. I mean, it's kind of a subjective thing about what people do and don't like. Personally, for these, I don't love 3-cent nickels because they're small and they all look approximately the same. They don't really tone because nickel is so environmentally stable. It's very hard to find these with much character or color.
The mintage of this coin is 2100. I mean, this is like in like all objective sense, an incredibly rare coin in proof. So it's a totally achievable coin for a beautiful proof, 3-cent nickel. Here is a 39.0 half dime, not a nickel because this is silver. So these were known as half dimes. Seated design. O mint, a very, very tough and rarer coin. These are a little underrepresented for one very, very simple reason. They're tiny. It's a tiny little coin. This is smaller than my thumbnail. And I think a lot of people, you know, if wanting to get into seated coinage, if you're going to get a rare seated coin, you want to get $1. And I think you want to get a big honking dollar where you can really see the design. But I do have some appreciation for half dimes. I think they're super fun. They've got a great design. The seated design is wonderful. And you can get incredibly rare and high grade coins for, again, relatively speaking, less money than you might pay for a bigger, chunkier coin. So here's a nice O mint 39.0 in AU. What do you think of this? What do you think of the series, and what do you think of this coin, Owen?
Yeah, I love the series and coin. I love U.S. coins dated 1839. I'm not sure why. They just kind of have a cool vibe. This is a really early, the New Orleans Mint was still just getting off the ground. You nailed it mentioning that this coin was scarce because despite having a substantial mintage, the survivor of this is very low. In AU55, there's just 16 examples at PCGS with just 63 finer in all grades. So that's pretty impressive that a coin graded AU55 still ranks well into the top 100 of finest examples certified by PCGS.
Yeah, and by the way, coin is under $1,000. So it's like, how many other coins are you going to find where, you can get for, a rare and scarce issue like that for under $1,000? It's awesome.
Yeah, it's a very cool example of an early New Orleans mint silver coin.
Well, let's jump directly into a later New Orleans 57.0 67 CAC blast white. This coin is expensive, but man, they don't make them like this. I bought this coin from a dealer as part of a big trade I just did in Irvine. There's a dealer buddy that we do a lot of business with, and he said it very simply. And I want you to talk about the actual coin, Owen, but I want to tell you guys about the deal. He said, look, I don't have a great website. You're going to take much nicer coins and show a much nicer video of this tiny little coin that I can deal with. So this is a you coin and not a me coin. And he's right. We're going to make this coin. We're going to show you close-up pictures. It is a blazer. What do you think of this, Owen? 67 CAC.
Yeah, this is a unicorn of a Seated Liberty halftime. Just like intense as struck luster. Really nice full strike on this one. The detail is all there. There's pretty much no notable abrasions. No ugly patina on it or anything. CAC approved. PCGS 67 choice gem.
All the coins like this that have sold, they're all toned. There's that high grade rainbow dark, nice in a nice original way. But this is both original and, flashy and blast white. So I think unicorn is the right. I mean, that's why I bought it. And I paid a pretty good amount of money for it. Let's move to the not half dime, the not silver part. Let's move to nickels. And we call them nickels. So we'll move to a fun Buffalo nickel, 1918 early Buffalo nickel in 64 CAC. I don't generally like to stock the later Buffalo nickels because I think those are a little less interesting. They made so many more of them. Anyway, a really, really lovely looking coin. I'll talk to you a little bit about this. Early Buffalo nickel, I like the satiny luster on this. I like that, you know, it's a 64. It's ever so slightly muted. It doesn't have that super flash that you want to see in the gem. I think it is correctly graded, but it's just got a very nice satiny look to it, and I appreciate the, you know, pre-1920 Buffalo nickel. So it's definitely a nice one. Well, with this coin out of the way, let me jump into another coin, which is an incredibly common Buffalo nickel in a very uncommon package. This coin is going to be a reasonably large amount of money relative to the coin in it, but this is all about the packaging. So I'm going to tell you a little bit about this coin. So this is a very common coin, 38D Buffalo in MS64. Oh, and correct me if I'm wrong, I think this is like a $30 or $40 coin, right? Something like that?
Yeah, I have $40 coin.
Yeah, $30 or $40 coin as it stands by itself. But two very exciting things going on with the package. First off, NGC white label. So this is the second generation NGC holder before they added the barcode and the NGC logo. These are highly collectible. This came right after the NGC black core, which was the very first generation. They made very, very few black cores. They made more white labels, but the white labels obviously still pretty scarce and commands a premium. And then, of course, a very undergraded coin. This is not an MS64. This is a, you know, probably at least the gold sticker from CAC says this is at least a 65 plus, if not a 66 or better. Again, that doesn't change the value of the coin very much. They're very common. They made millions of these Buffalo nickels, but the fact that we're in an NGC white label with a CAC gold sticker makes this an awesome coin for the plastic and sticker collector, and there are a lot of them out there, and so we love that. All right, now we'll move into the little bit of the later series, or the later denominations, earlier series that I know you get really excited about, Owen. Here's an 1805 Draped bust dime in a cool grade, fair 2, but with a CAC sticker on it. I bought this from another collector dealer who I see who loves Draped bust series, and he's a little snobby. He said, too low grade for me. And I said, okay, well, I love this. So what do you think of this guy, Owen?
Yeah, these Draped bust dimes are super tough to find, at least problem-free and certified. I looked up the prop reports on this one, and all grades combined, PCGS is certified a little bit over 100 for this type, the 5 berries. So one like this that's low grade but still nice and wholesome and CAC approved is an absolute treat. You never see these. I was very happy to be able to add this one to inventory.
Yeah, and I mean, look, the design is all there. You got a full, beautiful outline. The date is there. Like, there's no reason that this coin should not happily live in a collection. It's a really, really great example of a Draped bust coin. And again, not a super expensive coin. You know, we're in the hundreds of dollars, not the thousands of dollars. Well, we'll move to a little bit later. We moved on to 1809, where they switched to the cap bust design. This is a fine 12 CAC coin. I bought this coin out of a recent auction. I did lot viewing at the GACC show. Fell in love with this coin when I saw it. It's a really tough one in CAC in this grade. The pops are really low. And this was just kind of like an oomph coin. When I saw it, I just said, absolutely, we love it. Oh, and you didn't get a chance to do the lot viewing with me, but did I do all right on the purchase of this coin?
I think this coin's a knockout. This is a really low mintage, a little over 51,000 of these were originally struck. And there's something about, I think cap bust dimes are just like workhorses of contemporary commerce. They're always screwed up. I mean, you can find a lot of these raw and even pretty sharp VF, XF, even AU, and they always have problems. They're always clean, or have damage or scratches. So to find one like this that definitely served its role in commerce to the point where it got all the way down to fine, but was left like unharmed in every way, is just amazing. This coin is like the perfect cert cam look with the kind of light gray high points and the darker gray fields on both sides. This is just like an absolutely delightful example of this grade type.
I appreciate the validation and that I did good on buying this one. I will give you credit on this one. You found this one. Here's an 1887 Seated Liberty dime. You bought this coin for us, and you said this is an absolute knockout CAC candidate. I sent it to CAC and got a sticker on it. So you win on this one. I think, you know, the coin speaks for itself for why you picked it, but why don't you tell us in your own words what you liked about this one?
Yeah, this one stood out to me because these kind of later date seated dimes aren't very rare. They're definitely out there and available, even in certified mint state grades. But they're usually kind of tired, meaning that a lot of them are like chemically treated to make them appear brighter than they really were. You could dunk this coin in some kind of acid solution to try to make it white, which can look good in its own right, but I appreciate the coin that hasn't been tampered with at all. And this is kind of what they look like when they've not been touched. So I thought this was just a really standout example of a perfectly original seeded dime.
Yeah, and I mean color. I mean the rainbow coloring. It's just like gentle pastel coloring. I mean it's just like I was extremely happy when this showed up in the mail, and I said, "Nice work, Owen." And then we got a sticker, and CAC said, "Nice work, Owen." So that was a good one. All right, well let's move on to the Mercury Dime series, and we talk a lot about how I like my key dates. So. Can't argue with this. Here's a 16D Mercury Dime, G4 CAC. There's not a ton to say about this coin other than it is a perfect example of a nice, meaty, good 4. This is exactly the look that I go for when we look for these nice key date Mercuries. It's got that like slightly dirty outline, that almost framed look. It doesn't have any abrasions, any marks, just exactly what you want to see in a nice 16D. So this will be an excellent capstone to someone's set. And then similarly, a nice 42/41, my other favorite Mercury Dime, one of the most visible overdates. And if you don't know it, they stamped that 1 and then they were like, whoops, let's just put a 2 right over there. And so you have the 42/1, very visible with the naked eye. And again, a lovely VF30 with CAC approval example of the not as key date as the 42/41, as the 16D, but one of the semi keys of the Mercury and one of the popular overdate error issues. So having said that with Mercury dimes, let's jump into what is affectionately known as the double dime by people, the 20-cent piece, a short-lived series. Here's a 75cc in fine 15 20-cent piece. I got this coin because, I like to get non-boring coins for us here at Early 7. I like that this is a 20-cent piece. It's kind of a weird denomination. I like that it's a Carson City, and I like that it's in a low enough grade. I like to find these coins that are, multiple things going on at once. And this one is that like fun, achievable Carson City. Well, having looked at that coin, let's go to a monster version of that coin, which is the same date, a 75cc, but an AU55 with a CAC sticker in an OGH. Totally, same coin, but wow, on the other end of the spectrum. Owen, what do you think about this guy?
Yeah, this coin's just downright cool. It's like an unusual and eccentric type, the 20-cent piece there. It's from the famous Carson City Mint. It's an OGH holder, CAC approval, tons of luster. I think this coin, it easily looks like a 58 to me. I don't see anything preventing me from getting there. So again, everything you want to see. This is just a great example.
Yeah, it's just like super, super fun. And, as you can kind of tell, I'm getting a little biased for these fun OGH coins. I think it's really great. So, okay, well, let's, having shown you your 20-cent pieces, last 2 coins of this batch, and we're going to do a little drum roll because the next coin that we're going to look at is one of the nicest coins we have ever owned here at Rarity 7. Owen found this coin and he literally came running up to me and he said, "I'm writing a mid 5-figure check and you're going to agree to it." And I looked at the coin for 10 seconds and I said, "Absolutely." And here it is. It is a 1796 quarter in VF30 with CAC approval. And I just want to savor this coin for a second. Owen, tell me what went through your head when you saw this coin. Tell me what you told me when you handed it to me after we handed over a mid 5-figure check.
Yeah, I want to start by saying, if there's any coin that you're going to go on the website and check out, this is the one worth looking at. We're never going to be able to capture it here in the video. So go on the website, look at the professional photos we took of this one. It's just incredible. So this one, we were at the Pan show in Pittsburgh in the middle of October. And I was walking by a friend's table and he had a piece of paper in a showcase that said, 1796 quarter for sale, asked to see. I stopped, immediately in my tracks and I asked to see it, and they pulled out this. I did my best to not faint. I asked for the price, and it was over gray sheet bid. We paid up for this one. But the coin is just amazing. I can't recall having seen a circulated 1796 quarter that I liked more than this one. And I mean that. If you look at the color of this thing, it just has this like amazing original album toning on both sides. Perfectly original surfaces with, a very even, pleasant gray throughout in the centers. There's no rim bumps or big scratches to speak of. This is just like, I cannot possibly conceive a better circulated 1796 quarter than this one. It's an absolute knockout coin.
Yeah, I mean, and this is now the third 1796 quarter that we have owned in as many months. We seem to be building a little marketplace for these. By far the nicest one. I mean, the other two were nothing to sniff at. You know, we had I think a 12 or a 15 CAC, and then we had a G4 CAC, and now we're into a 30 CAC. But man, the color, the evenness of the surfaces, this is an absolutely spectacular coin, and I have never spent less time before writing a very, very large check on a coin, because I just looked at it and I looked at the numbers and I said, yep, we're buying this coin. And that was it. And I am super excited to own this and have this in inventory. You get a tremendous amount of kudos for finding this coin. This was an absolute monster. And I have nothing more to say other than how awesome this is. So enjoy. I don't expect this will last a very long time. It's a real special piece. And I'm really, really pleased for us to own it. Okay, well, the last coin that we're going to look at for this first group, part 1 of 4, a really tough seeded quarter. This is an 1869S CAC approved AU58. And, you know, and I saw this coin pop up. I saw this. I think I bought this from a collector or some online sale. I don't remember, but I saw it pop up and I said, well, you know, I feel like I don't see a lot of 69S quarters, and I know that like the 61S, we've owned a couple of them, and I know that the 60s are, especially the S Mint around that plus and minus Civil War era, are really tough. And this is a rare coin in a very, very lovely original grade. When I showed this to you, Owen, you kind of like stopped in your tracks, not quite as much as the 1796 quarter, but you said, wow, that is like a super winner of a coin. What do you think about this guy?
Yeah, again, kind of like the coins from 1839. The 1860s S Mint coins just kind of do something for me. I don't know how to elaborate on that, but they just have kind of a really interesting vibe about them. You know, it's just after the Civil War here, still in the early-ish days of the San Francisco Mint. Super scarce. These things were absolute workhorses of commerce. So to find them, you know, in still a fairly high grade is really unusual. And this one just has an amazing original look about it. Again, everything you want to see. Perfect patina to it. No distracting spots or abrasions. This is an excellent coin.
And AU58 CAC approved, very, very rare coin in the grade and with CAC approval. So a magical coin and a really wonderful way of rounding out our first group. So that's it. That's our first part 1. But don't worry, we got a lot more coins. Go check out the website. You can see the whole group. And then we're going to have parts 2, 3, and 4 of this wonderful series coming up. Stay tuned. Lots more awesome coins coming to you. Thank you for watching, everybody.